To the chapter 11 homework. That's on momentum and impulse. So number 3 gave you this graph and it's asking you to determine the impulse. Well, impulse is the area of the graph. Technically that's the integral of ft. In this case you have a variable force over a certain time interval. So area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, even if it's a weird shape like this and not a right triangle. So I've got 1/2 times 1,000. These are milliseconds. Note that because that's something where a millisecond is 0.001 of a second, 1/1000th of a second. Much like there are 1,000 years in a millennium, or 1,000 millimeters in a meter. Okay, so in this case I get 3 Newton seconds of impulse. For P12, you have an object starting at negative 10 meters per second. It has an interaction, so there's an impulse to it, and then it ends up at a certain speed, and you're asked to figure out that speed. You're given that the mass is 0.250 kilograms, and again, this is milliseconds, so 8 milliseconds. So the idea here, if there is an impulse, you have initial momentum plus the impulse is equal to the final momentum. So the initial momentum, mass times velocity, is negative 2.5 kilogram meters per second. The impulse is 500 newtons times 0.008 seconds. That's plus 4 Newton seconds. These two are equivalent to each other, by the way, in terms of the units, because if you think back to Newton's second law, F equals m times a Newton is a kilogram meter per second squared. Well, multiplied by a second, that's a kilogram meter per second. Anyhow, so I get the initial momentum, the impulse, that's the final momentum, is plus 1.5 kilogram meters per second. So now, if I know my final momentum, I want to find my final velocity. Well, I go back to the general equation, P equals m times v. I know the mass, I know the final momentum, so the final velocity is plus 6 meters per second. P14, this is an interesting one because the mass changes and therefore the velocity changes despite the fact that the momentum stays the same. Why does the momentum stay the same even when there's a collision or interaction? Because this 4,000 kilogram load is dropped vertically and we're interested in the horizontal momentum. So force at a right angle to that momentum will not cause it to speed up or slow down. At any rate, we've got initial momentum m times v, 10,000 kilogram car, 2 meters per second, so that's 20,000 units of momentum. So the final momentum would also be 20,000, but now it's having to move 14,000 kilograms, so the final velocity is still to the right at 1.43 meters per second. So increased mass, decreased velocity. This one is basically saying you have a 60 gram, I think it's a ball, hits a wall at 32 meters per second coming in and bounces off at 32 meters per second. So technically that's an elastic collision, although it didn't ask about that. And you're given a graph here, again, this being milliseconds, this being F max, and it's asking you to determine what that F max is. Okay, so since this is a positive force, I'm noticing that it would be a positive impulse. So I think initially the object was going to the left, hitting a wall, and then bouncing back to the right because the change in momentum is positive. Not a big deal, but useful. So if I look at this, the mass times the change in velocity is positive 64 meters per second times 0.06 kilograms, because that's 60 grams. So that's plus 3.84 kilogram meters per second. So therefore, the impulse has to be plus 3.84 Newton seconds. So now how do I figure out what that F max is? Well, I look at the area of this. I have 0.06 seconds, but here the area is 1/2. Here the area is 1/2. Here it's the full area. So essentially the area of this whole trapezoid is 4 milliseconds times F max, or 0.004 seconds times F max. So now I'm basically impulse equals time, 0.004 seconds times F max. That equals 960 newtons. So kind of a little bit of geometry there with figuring out the area of that. For the problem 44, you have 3 gliders. They are all still 200, 300, and 400 gram glider. They show you a graph of the 200 and 300 gram gliders after they have plungers that explode, much like the carts we used in lab. And so they show this, they show Y's and X's, I'm showing positions and times. I do think the book mixed these Y-intercepts up because the 200 gram glider was above the 300 gram glider. Those actually aren't relevant. What is relevant are these speeds. So, and they're actually positive or negative, so those are velocities. So before the gliders explode apart, there's 0 momentum. So afterward, there needs to be net 0 momentum. So this 200 gram glider is going at 0.53 meters per second. This 300 gram glider is going at negative 0.41 meters per second. We're trying to find the speed of the 400 gram glider and the direction of it. So I know my total momentum is 0 because it was 0 before they exploded. So I have 0.2 times 0.53 meters per second plus 0.3 kilograms times negative 0.41 meters per second. So I get those two give me a negative momentum overall plus 0.4 kilograms times VF. So in other words, this has to be moving to the right at around 0.042 meters per second. So conservation of momentum before and after the explosion. Problem 47 here. You've got a squid with a mass of 150 or 1.5 kilograms. The part that was annoying about this is it says it's drifting at 0.4 meters per second, and then it's asking you, well, what's the speed of the water the squid ejects relative to the squid? It was unclear whether, to me, it meant relative to the squid before it ejected the water or relative to the squid afterwards. So, anyhow, I took this at 0 meters per second and figured out the momentum for one and the other. So I ended up getting the velocity was 29.4 meters per second for the water away from the squid's drifting motion. But now since the squid is going to go faster to the right, it went 2.1 meters per second faster to the right. That means this is 2.1 meters per second faster also. So relative to the squid, it's 31.5 meters per second. Again, a little bit annoying. Basically, it's a conservation momentum problem. So you could have put this as 0.4 meters per second. I ended up thinking of that as 0. I changed my frame of reference. A couple other ways you could have done that. I think the book answer said 31.5 meters per second relative to the squid's final motion. This is kind of a neat one. You've got a package here. You've got a person who needs help across a roaring river 30 meters away and down a 200-meter cliff. That is a very extreme situation. But I've actually seen something kind of similar to that this past summer on a trip. At any rate, you can shoot a 1-kilogram rocket into it. It'll embed in the package, and the goal is to get it across to that person. So this is a multi-stage problem. First thing you need to do is figure out what time it's going to take the package to fall vertically. Why? Because we need to figure out the speed the package needs to get to cross that distance. So I would use delta y equals 1/2 gt squared. So that's around 6.4 seconds of falling time. And now, if we know the river is 30 meters across and the time is around 6.4 seconds across, we know that this whole thing needs to get to 4.7 meters per second. So now, finally, the end part of the problem is a conservation of momentum problem. And so, in order to do that, to find the required speed of the rocket, you need to find P initial equals P final. That's the rocket only, and this is the rocket plus the package. We know that the rocket embedded in the package would be 4.7 meters per second. So that's a total of 1 plus 5 or 6 kilograms. The package wasn't moving beforehand, so the rocket has to move much faster. Since the rocket has 1/6 the mass, it will travel 6 times the speed, so that's around 28.2 meters per second, or greater, to cross the river. Last one here is this is a vector problem, and so It is not much different than some of the vector problems we've done for well over a year now. It's just that you've got to think about the momentum is the vector quantity, not mass, not velocity. So in this case, I split it up into 3. I was kind of cut off here when I ended up making a copy or scanning. So this is number 1, number 2, number 3. For number 1, it's going at a 45-degree angle down like that. I chose north and east to be positive. So in this case, it is 4 meters per second times 40 grams. So that's 113, or that's 160 gram meters per second, sine 45 degrees. North is up, so I have negative for this, negative 113.1. East would be positive 113.1. For this one, number 2, it's going to the west, so I have 0 north, negative 30 grams times 3 meters per second. 3 meters per second is negative 90 gram meters per second. For this one, it's going up or north, so 20 times 2 is 40 gram meters per second, and nothing going east. So this is what I get overall. I'm going to handle this as a vector problem now with momentum. My resultant is 76.27 gram meters per second. Divide by the mass. Total mass of this is 90 grams. So I get 0.85 meters per second, and I use inverse tangent to get the angle. So this really is just a vector problem. Notice, because I'm multiplying by mass and then dividing by mass, I really didn't need standard units of kilograms. If you want to convert it to that, that's fine. But if you convert it incorrectly, that would work out as long as you were consistent with your conversions. Okay. So again, the PDF of this will be posted.